Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka SavageTechman. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. And welcome back to now part 2 of our 2019 Oscar previews here. And if you haven't checked out our first 12 categories that we covered in the previous episode, I really encourage you to check those out. We had some really good discussion. We had some pros and cons. We talked about some snubs and a lot of great content there. Follow us on Geek Homeworld, geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. That's our main site. We're on iTunes as Geek Homeworld. We're on Twitter at Geek Homeworld. Scott Schreiber's joining me again.
Hey, I came back.
You're back. You didn't go anywhere. And I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich, a.k.a. SavageTechman, along with Scott Schreiber here. And Scott's going to be doing some blogging for the podcast here and for our blog.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll post those before the weekend and peruse those before the big show and get all up to date. If you don't want to, listen to to every minute here.
Yeah, and that's at geekhomeworld.blogspot.com. But I may make them available maybe on the YouTube channel or something. I don't know, and try to figure maybe it's probably just put them on Facebook too. We can do that on the Geek Homeworld Facebook page. You can go there and like that too. So anyway, we're going to get into the last 12 of the 24 categories here. I couldn't find the word. and we're getting into the big ones, including the snubs. So we're going to just jump right into it here. The 13th category is Best Animated Feature Film. The nominees are Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Mirai, thank you. I'm not good with names, I'm sorry. Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, pretty good crop of films here.
Yes.
Was not able to see Mirai. I'm trying to find it, but
same here.
Looks like a great.
I think it's Japanese.
Japanese in the spirit of, I'd say, probably Studio Ghibli. I know they don't really make films anymore, but kind of in that realm,
Right.
But the other 4 were fantastic. 2 Disney sequels, 1 long-awaited sequel, 15 years?
Yeah, Incredibles 2. I could have dealt with, I didn't need all those Cars movies. You should have just jumped on Incredibles 2. It came back as strong as the first one. I'm a little partial to the first one, but
sure,
it's very close to being about as great of a sequel as you could make to Incredibles. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that the original won this award, Best Animated. I don't think that's going to happen here. More than likely going to Spider-Verse, don't you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's my pick. And I'm so surprised. Well, I'm not surprised now at this point, but I'm so surprised going in, and I said this on a previous episode of the podcast, about how good Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because I think it made it in our top 10s for the year.
Both of our top 10s, yeah.
Which is surprising for me, but even more surprising, I would think, for you. And because you don't generally go for geeky-ish kind of
it was so groundbreaking.
It was.
And, I've never seen any kind of animation like it. They in certain scenes they made it feel like you were in the comic book cell.
Exactly.
And then and it felt 3D without being 3D. And then you had these different styles of animation from Spider-Man Noir and Gwen, and and they combined
the
them
anime
all.
version, and so. Hands down, I think the Academy gives it to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it's also my pick.
Yeah, and it's great for Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. They're the team behind Cloudy with Chance of Meatballs, the Lego Movie franchise. They did 21 and 22 Jump Street, so they're really funny guys, and they're really behind this Spider-Verse. But the message of anyone can be behind the mask is also something
it's
that
very
voters
inclusive.
are going to the inclusiveness. Voters are going to gravitate towards.
So we have Bob Perschetti, Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman, Philip Lord, and Christopher Miller.
yeah.
All first-time nominees, correct?
All first-time nominees. Although which with Spider-Verse winning kind of makes up for the snub of Lego Movie. If you think about it, Lego Movie was not nominated.
Lego Part 2, whatever the...
No, the first one. The very first one. The original, the Lego Movie, the fantastic Lego Movie.
Everything is Awesome?
Everything is Awesome was not nominated for Best Animated Feature, which was a crime.
Awesome.
So, this is kind of a nice little consolation. Not even consolation. Yeah. It's here's an Oscar for one of the best films of the year.
So, next category is Best Achievement in Visual Effects, and this is one of my most difficult categories for me. The nominees are Avengers: Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Ready Player One. I don't want to say the next film.
I'll say Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Was it really, though? Anyway.
So, yeah, I mean, I could kind of, who knows how people vote. You could almost see that winning, but I really do think it's between Infinity War and Ready Player One. How about yourself?
I personally am leaning a little bit more towards Ready Player One. Okay. I think that film, we saw it in IMAX 3D, and I think the visual effects, there was so much going on in each panel of that.
Well, and if you think about it, what do you think? It's probably 95% CGI. I mean,
I would have to say, yeah. And,
and that's
and the people in it look so lifelike. I mean, the characters and they got a lot of those things. It's kind of like the Lego Movie in a way, or Lego the 1 and 2, because you had to get all these different characters and you had to get them just right. And I think they really achieved visually. You know what's interesting though, and it's actually 2019, I guess would be, and I'm not putting it in here, but it made me think about Aquaman a little bit.
Well, Aquaman would have been 2018, so technically it got snubbed, if you're going to call snubs here. Which, I think Aquaman would have ended up in my top 5. I thought the visual effects were the strongest point of that
maybe
film.
even cinematography.
So maybe not go that far, because it's mostly CGI. It's mostly CGI.
Yeah.
So.
But I think the Academy. I agree with you. Infinity War, of course, most of that is in front of a green screen.
Right.
But that's a film I've been waiting a decade for, and Marvel delivered on so many levels with that film. And that snap heard around the world. I mean, it changed everything. I've never in my life been at the end of a film, a Marvel film especially, and hear sobs from grown men and kids and what happened to Spider-Man? What happened to Black Panther? And there are people crying out in the theater. It was like, it was terrible, and it was like the death of the Marvel universe.
And so I feel like this since this was the #1 box office movie of the year globally, which I think you have to global means more in my opinion, but so I think that the Academy rewards the box office monster of the year and gives them an award.
Because you're looking like domestic, Black Panther had like $700 million, but it was in the theaters February all the way to most of the year. But
it had 3 more months head start.
Yeah, pretty much. And then of course you had, when Avengers came out, they put it back in some more theaters, so we got even more of a bump, and it made it to $700 million,
and it broke the weekend record, right? Weekend box office record.
Infinity War
broke the weekend box office.
Yeah, which is, and it's hard to deliver on 19 different films,
Exactly.
And, all by different directors, they under a central vision where DC can't get their house in order. Marvel wrote the book on it.
And here's another reason to vote for Infinity War. Dan Sudik. This is his 9th nomination, and he's pretty much worked on all Marvel films. His first nomination was Master and Commander, which
was beautiful film. That was
War of the Worlds, Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
I loved it.
And then he was nominated for all 3 Iron Man movies: Avengers, the first one, Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And now this is his 9th nomination. So here's a guy that's, is Mr. Marvel for VFX. So,
Right.
maybe that's another reason to vote for them. So I think it's either that, Infinity War, or Ready Player One.
Christopher Robin was a good mix of visual effects. It's like Mary Poppins. I can almost see, Mary Poppins in there to an extent. But
Yeah, the one word I think of with Christopher Robin was seamless. You don't even think about these stuffed animals in the real world. It's just, why not?
and First Man, Paul Lambert or Lambier. Lambert.
Oh, Lambert, yes.
He won last year for Blade Runner 2049, which is one of the best films of sci-fi films of the decade, easily.
Sure, and who knows,
maybe of all time.
Maybe 2 in a row for him. It certainly is deserving. Yeah. It's another toss-up category.
But I'm not sure. Academy could go with Ready Player One or Infinity War. I mean, it's a very difficult one. Now, our next category is Best Achievement in Film Editing. Black Klansman,
Barry Alexander Brown,
Bohemian Rhapsody,
John Ottman,
The Favorite,
Yorgos Mavropsaridis.
Bless you.
Maybe, I don't know. I tried.
Green Book,
Patrick J. Donvito,
and Vice.
Hank Corwin.
I personally, we're going to talk about snubs in a sec in this category.
Well, there's a lot of snubs here because I kind of don't, I don't agree with these 5 nominees at all. I mean, obviously, we think They Shall Not Grow Old should be in here for editing.
I could make a case for Bohemian Rhapsody. I could see editing to an extent.
I just, I honestly, I understand, I could see people voting for it.
Yeah.
I do not agree with it. I think that the editing is actually one of the weaknesses of this film because it's essentially, to me, it's a 2.5 hour long music video. It's enjoyable, but I
was waiting for you to say karaoke.
Well, it kind of is because he's lip syncing the whole time. But so for me, editing makes no sense here. They could have made it more succinct. I mean, the whole Live Aid, I wanted to see that whole performance, sure. But what editing is done there? He just lets it roll
CGI
he just lets it roll for.
It's incredible what they did with the CGI and all the different. I saw a special or behind the scenes online, and they're all different types of people in that audience that they digitally put in there, and it's so, it's like Where's Waldo, but it was amazing how they did it. But
so
part of editing.
When we look at these nominees, a lot of them are first-time nominees. The editor for Bohemian Rhapsody, he's typically a composer. When I was looking at his background,
right?
But he edits a lot of Bryan Singer's films. He edited a lot of the X-Men films. He edited Usual Suspects. So he's kind of Bryan Singer's guy. And then, but I think they end up giving Vice this award, though. I think it's the most flashy editing, quote unquote. It's obvious editing, which I don't know if that's a good thing, because you notice the editing a lot in Vice.
I think the Academy, my inkling is that they go with Vice on this, that they give it something, and I think it gets film editing, but I'd rather see Bohemian, just personally myself.
Well, out of these, I would rather see The Favorite or Black Klansman. Those are more warranted than certainly Bohemian, in my opinion.
What I really want to say are the snubs, because
They Shall Not Grow Old, A Quiet
should
Place.
have been in here.
First Man.
Yes.
How is First Man not up for editing? What?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And you made a very good one that I had not thought about for editing, but Mission Impossible Fallout.
Sure. That movie was so well paced, and I know there's really a lot of action. But it's just that pacing is so key for me. I mean, I'll bring movies down just for pacing alone.
Because there's always that it starts kind of energetic, a film, and then you get to that lull in the middle, and you almost expect it on a lot of films, and there wasn't on Mission Impossible Fallout. I mean, kudos to the whole crew, Tom Cruise, everyone, and I just. By far the most profitable one of the franchise in 20 plus years. Plus, it just was a solid story. It felt good. I saw it
and it's a
at least twice, I think.
I think I saw it 3 times. And it's a shame that it has no nominations. I mean, this is a place where it could have got nominated. It could probably got up for sound, visual effects. I mean, although it's mostly practical effects, it's a lot of stunts. Again, I think
What
I
more
brought
does
this
Tom
up.
Cruise? Did you say that? What more does Tom Cruise have to kill himself to get an Oscar?
I think there
Unfortunately,
needs
on these stunts.
let's say we're talking about the most or best popular film that they were wanting to create that category. Create best stunts before you do that.
Definitely,
stuntmen and women should be recognized, absolutely,
and rewarded. Yes, they should be. I mean, because they're the unsung heroes.
Coming back to editing, I think Vice wins. This is Hank Corwin's second nomination. He did The Big Short with Adam McKay. So this, it seems like the Academy likes Adam McKay and Hank Corwin's storytelling style.
Yeah.
So, I looked into Hank Corwin's background, and if he does win, I'll feel pretty good about it because he edited one of my favorite Oliver Stone films, Natural Born Killers. Some people, that's a polarizing film, but he edited that. He edited Nixon and U-Turn, so he worked with Oliver Stone. Did a couple films with Terrence Malick, The New World and Tree of Life. Again, polarizing films.
Yes.
And so is Vice. So maybe this is Hank Corwin's bread and butter, polarizing films. He also did,
that way.
Cool note, Beck's music video for Devil's Haircut. But yeah, so I think Vice wins that, and then we move on to, I think, another 100% lock of the night in cinematography.
Best achievement in cinematography, and it will be broadcast.
And it will be broadcast, they've decided. They have no spine.
Nominees are The Favorite,
Robbie Ryan,
Never Look Away,
Caleb Deschanel,
Roma,
Alfonso Cuarón,
A Star is Born,
Matthew Libatique,
and Cold War.
Lukáš Zal. So yeah, I think this is where, again, Cuarón this is one of the Oscars Cuarón takes home.
I agree.
I just don't think there's any way people vote otherwise. If it goes elsewhere, possibly Cold War, possibly,
Which is in black and white, right?
Yeah, another black and white. And there's 3 foreign films nominated here: Never Look Away, Cold War, Roma. We mentioned that in part 1. I could see The Favorite winning, although Robbie Ryan is very young, doesn't have a lot under his belt. Caleb Deschanel, for those out there that like New Girl and Bones, he's the father of Emily and Zoe Deschanel, the actresses.
I was going to ask you that last name. I wasn't sure of that.
Yeah, so he's well respected. This is his 6th nomination in his career. He was nominated for The Right Stuff, The Natural, Fly Away Home, The Patriot, and Passion of the Christ. So
wow,
yeah, so he's done some great work, and I don't think he's going to win here, but he's represented again here. And but yeah, I think this is the first of time that we're talking about Cuarón, Alfonso Cuarón, where he's going to win. I ultimately think he's going to win at least 3 or 4 to himself. Well, not to himself, but he's up for 4 things.
4 things, yeah.
4 categories, and he's probably going to win at least 3 of them, I think. So
okay.
So, but yeah, that's cinematography. I would say pretty safe bet for Roma.
Yeah, pretty much a lock, I think. Our next category 17, as we number them as
acting.
Best performance by an actor in a supporting role. I'm giving you my support now. Act. The nominees are Mahershala Ali.
Let me do let me do the names. You can do the movies.
Okay.
So I'll say Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala. I know that. I've said his name so many times. For Driving Miss Daisy. Excuse me. Green Book.
Adam Driver.
Black Klansman.
Sam Elliott.
A Star is Born.
Richard E. Grant.
Can You Ever Forgive Me?
And Sam Rockwell.
For Vice. So
here's another lock. I think Mahershala Ali is going to take this. He's won every single precursor, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, SAG. He's won them all. So
I'm in total agreement. I think the Academy is too.
Yeah, and he won for Moonlight, which was a less substantial role. Like, it was still moving. But it was,
to me, I wasn't terribly impressed by the film.
He didn't have a lot of screen time, and sometimes with me, that's like, it doesn't hit you as hard sometimes. But this will be his second win, I think, and next year we'll see him winning Emmys and Golden Globes for his portrayal on True Detective. That's currently airing on HBO. Right.
He's a great actor.
He is, and it's like I'm really excited to see where his career goes. I mean, goodness, he's going to have 2 Oscars already. What else is I think he's in Battle Angel. I think he's in Alita. He's the villain,
which I've got to see. Yeah,
which I think I'm going to go see tomorrow. So, but yeah, it looks like he's got all sorts of great things on his slate. As far as the other nominees, I think the only person here that has a chance of knocking him off would be Sam Elliott. I don't think it's going to happen.
No Sam Rockwell, who won last year?
No, he's the defending champ there. With he won last year for 3 billboards. But
it's time for another Sam I Am to get it.
Sam I Am. But yeah, I don't think he wins. His role was minimal too. He had very little screen time in Vice as George W. He was very good, but again, minimal screen time. But Sam Elliott, that iconic voice, I mean,
yeah,
and he's never been nominated in his life, and maybe I don't know. It's definitely not going to go to Adam Driver. Kylo Ren won't win it.
I don't think Kylo should have got it for this, but
so and Richard E. Grant again. It's like Driver and Grant to me. They're just kind of underwhelming. Grant was a little better than Driver, I thought, but you're not going to discount their talents, of course. But here it's Ali. It's all the way.
Yeah, it's a lock. Best performance by an actress in a supporting role.
Amy Adams.
Vice.
Marina de Tavira.
Roma.
Regina King.
If Beale Street Could Talk.
Emma Stone.
The Favorite.
And Rachel Weisz.
The Favorite. Who is the favorite?
The favorite here. Now, this is an interesting category because it's been all over the place. Yeah. Now, Emily Blunt, as we mentioned before, won the SAG Award in this category for A Quiet Place, but she's not nominated.
Snub.
So that's weird. I think Marina de Tavira kind of stole her place here. Stole maybe a strong word, but I certainly wouldn't put her performance in Roma over Blunt.
Yeah, this could be the year of Roma, though. It could be the sweep. I don't know.
Well, I think she has the least amount of chance winning here. Amy Adams is kind of the sentimental favorite. This is her 6th nomination. She's never won, but I think she's all that that sentimentality is going more towards Glenn Close, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes,
but
definitely.
So I think what it comes down to is between. At first, I thought it was between Adams and King, but now I really think it's between King and Weisz. Rachel Weisz won the BAFTA, the British Academy Award.
Yeah.
But when Regina King has been nominated, she's won. She won the Golden Globe. She won the Critics' Choice. Everybody loves her. She won. She won Emmys recently for American Crime and 7 Seconds, a Netflix show.
Right.
So she's winning awards for television. Now she's going to be winning awards for film. Everybody wants to work with her. And what an incredible career she's had.
And she's really empowering for females.
Right. She made the speech about she wants to push for 50-50, which is fantastic. And
it's wonderful.
And
admirable.
Absolutely. And but think about her credits. Go back to 227. She started out on 227, and
we all start somewhere.
I grew up watching that show and loved it. And it's
still love it. Yeah.
She's been in my home forever. And then Boys in the Hood was her feature film debut.
Yeah,
I mean, goodness. And then
Spike Lee. There's
and then think
not Spike Lee. Excuse me.
No, that John Singleton.
John Singleton.
Yeah, John Singleton.
Sorry.
And then you've got other classic films like Friday and Ray. She's fantastic.
Bye, Felicia.
Right. I mean, that's iconic. And and she's in Ray as well. What a performance in Ray. I don't know why she wasn't nominated back then for Ray.
That's a good point. Ray was such an exceptional film.
Yeah, and then her TV work, 24, Southland, The Leftovers, and The Boondocks. I mean, she's done some amazing work, and she's now getting all these accolades, well deserved. And
I think it's an Academy lock for her, and it's my personal favorite. Okay. I don't know if I can say a lock.
Yeah, lock's a little tough there because
it is tough because of Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz.
Because other people have won this award this year.
Because I almost think am I thinking of the right actress? And Rachel Weisz in The Favorite. I kind of think she stole that movie in a way.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
like I have her, obviously Emily Blunt, as I've said so much. She's my number one supporting actress of the year. My number two is Rachel Weisz. I think her performance is outstanding.
yeah. Alrighty, we're down to our next category: best performance by an actor.
By an actor. So
Best
we got
actor in a leading role.
leading actor. Yes, sir.
Leading actor. Okay, we have
Christian Bale,
Vice,
Bradley Cooper,
A Star is Born,
Willem Dafoe,
At Eternity's Gate,
Rami Malek,
for Bohemian Rhapsody,
Viggo Mortensen,
Green Book.
or Green Book. So a good crop of nominees there. One, I don't quite agree with.
Right, and I'll tell you, and it's the one that I'm agreeing with.
Right, and it's the one that I think is going to win too.
And the one that I've followed all of his awards, and I have no problem with him winning. Is Rami Malek
I will attest to Ed supporting Rami for a very long time.
from Mr. Robot way back. I mean, he's just incredible, and I think, and we were talking about a lot of this beforehand when we're going over what we're going to cover here on the show, and we were talking about Christian Bale in Vice, how you believe that he captures and really encompasses the role of
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney
of the
there.
person.
He dissolves into that role, just like Steve Carell, but Christian Bale's nominated here for actor in a leading role. I think Rami Malek encapsulates the spirit of Freddie Mercury.
Sure, and I and that, like, I get that argument, I appreciate that argument, and I certainly respect it. You're right. He captured the spirit, the movements, and everything, and he made it an enjoyable watch. But when you're putting these performances side by side, I don't see how anybody can tell me that Rami Malek gave a better performance than Christian Bale or Bradley Cooper, for that matter. And it's more of a cartoonish is too. I've said the word
upsets me,
right? And maybe that's hyperbole. Maybe that's hyperbole for me to say.
To me,
cartoon.
that's almost like saying. That's like saying The Godfather. I'm just picking The Godfather.
Okay.
Versus Black Panther for Best Picture. Black Panther. I know that's everybody's going.
You
What?
Lost me, man. I don't know.
Saying like Black Panther's not on the level of like The Godfather. You know what I mean?
Well,
it seems cartoonish.
And
comparatively,
Rami Malek is not on the same level as Christian Bale. In my humble opinion.
I'm trying to agree with you here, but I'm still going with Rami Malek.
No,
I will be.
No, and I get your argument, and it's like, again, I like the guy, and I think he's a great actor, and he gave a good performance, but he didn't give an Oscar performance. He lip syncs the whole time, and that
Bradley Cooper on the other side of the coin there sang and acted.
Cooper actually gives an emotional performance, and again, this isn't Malek's fault.
Right.
The producers and directors wanted to go this safer route with Bohemian Rhapsody and not delve deep into the emotions.
Well, it was the band too, Queen.
Sure, you're right. Brian May, the band pushed for that, and it was smart. It worked. They made a ton of money, and it's a fun movie. But when you're talking Oscar, to me, you're talking about deeply human, emotional performances. I did not get that from Malek. I got that from Bale. I got that from Cooper. Well, Bale is kind of robotic, but still, that's the character.
And now Viggo Mortensen from Green Book with Mahershala Ali. Early on, I said that I was thinking Viggo would be a lock for it. But if you think about, if we're trying to be more progressive, if we're trying to move ahead with the times, Viggo Mortensen, for me, he steals the movie. I think he does. Okay. I think he shines better than Mahershala Ali, other than that speech in the rain that he has, that Mahershala has. But Viggo plays a stereotype, and he plays that Italian-American kind of, one of the stereotypes. And in 2019, do we necessarily need to reward a stereotype?
I don't think so. And especially when you look at his other performances he could have won for or could have been nominated for. Like, he wasn't even nominated for A History of Violence. Not sure if you've seen that one. He should have been.
I did. Yeah,
He
that was intense.
nominated for Eastern Promises. That's another one he probably could have won for. The Road. Of course, he's Aragorn. I don't know if he shouldn't have been nominated for that, but he's Aragorn, right?
Yeah. Well, that's and
So, but anyway,
Lord of the
getting
Rings
back to the true contenders, although I will touch on Willem Dafoe. This is his 4th nomination. He's just kind of also there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I asked you earlier. I said, is this kind of him sneaking in there and saying, is this the give it to him because we can't, decide between all these others?
Not yet. There's 2 possibilities here. It's Malik and Bale, and it was at the beginning of award season. This was Bale all the way. Nobody was getting in his way. Malik won, I think, something at the Golden Globes because they were
Best Actor.
He was drama and Bale was comedy for some reason. Yeah. And
I don't get how Vice was a comedy. I know
it's a satire. I laughed.
Yeah,
I get it. But it is weird. It seems weird, but it was a satire.
Yeah, when we came out.
But going back to my point here, Bale, like in his early speeches, I think he shot himself in the foot when he thanked Satan.
And he was being satirical. He was being
he was just making a joke.
He's making a joke.
He didn't mean it in like, I'm a Satan worshiper.
Yeah.
Maybe some people took it that way, but I don't think that's the big point here. He made a joke at the expense of Cheney. People laughed, but it came off as negative. And then you have Rami Malek and his speeches, and he's saying
positive.
Absolutely. Everything.
For an Egyptian American, which, how many times do I get to say Egyptian American? Which is awesome. I mean, he is just
maybe
a great
another factor
soul of
for
a person.
people voting for him. He's up against 4 white guys, and I don't know. I mean,
I'm not even saying that for the politic reasons of it. I think I've just always been moved by his performances. Going back to Mr. Robot, and I know he did Night at the Museum and other things like that.
I was going to say, can you name another role? And I couldn't, but you did. He played the Egypt kid.
He did.
He played King Tut or Hotep or somebody.
Maybe it was Hotep. I'm not sure.
But yeah, I forgot about that. He was in that. But see,
and there's some other roles I can't think of right now.
He is certainly talented. But
he is talented.
Again, to get back to my point, is that Bale was the front runner. He said something that came off the wrong way, and then when you put it next to Rami Malek's speeches, where it's nothing but enlightening and positive and talking about the great man that Freddie Mercury was and the message of Freddie Mercury, everybody's drawn to that. More people are going to be drawn to that than to be drawn to, thanks, Satan. So I think, I feel like that's why, to me, and I can't believe I'm saying this because it seemed like it was a toss-up. Maybe Bale had a chance. I really think Rami Malek is 100% lock. I think he's winning no matter what.
I think it's a lock, too. And obviously, it's my personal favorite for the win. It's a strong category. I mean, there's
always a strong category.
It's always a strong category.
There are going to be snubs here too.
Yeah,
which I have. Like, there's some performances. Like, obviously for me, Ryan Gosling in First Man. I love subtle performances. I know that some people think that he doesn't do anything because he's so unexpressive, but that's not the case for me. I think the subtleties in his acting are fantastic. Who else is there that could have been there?
It's
let's see. I think Lakeith Stanfield for Sorry to Bother You. Not sure if you saw that.
I did not get to see that.
He probably should have gotten some recognition. Maybe Daveed Diggs for Blind Spotting. Stephan James for If Beale Street Could Talk. There are a lot of great lead performances.
Did you say? And I forgot the gentleman's name from A Quiet Place.
Oh, Krasinski, not as actor. I didn't really have him in his top 10. I think he did an amazing job directing and the script, and it was more blunt. Yeah, it was blunt. Blunt and the daughter, Millicent Simmons, who was dead.
Yes.
I have her as my number 3 supporting actress.
Why is she not in supporting actress?
I don't know. I think they got it right for the most part, except for the woman from Roma.
Yeah. I would have easily probably.
I think I actually
changed those two.
If I'm thinking going back to supporting actress, I think I have Blunt, Vice, and then like Stone and King and Millicent Simmons, the girl from A Quiet Place. But yeah,
Well, the next, are we ready to move to the next category?
Let's go on to Best Actress. So
Best Actress.
Yalitza Aparicio,
Roma.
Glenn Close,
The Wife.
Olivia Colman,
The Favorite.
Lady Gaga,
A Star is Born.
and Melissa McCarthy.
For Can You Ever Forgive Me?
So another interesting group here. Yeah.
I want to say one thing.
Sure.
I've noticed, I'm just looking back over here to supporting actress. Your supporting actress and supporting actress. From The Favorite, we have Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz. And then over here, for actress in a leading role, Olivia Colman for The Favorite. And I think I misspoke when I said Rachel Weisz. I think it was Olivia Colman that stole the movie, correct?
For you.
For me.
I don't know. I can't. I'm not in your brain, bud.
Get out of my head.
Rachel Weisz is the...
Which one was...
she was Sarah, the lady in the...
Who is the
queen is Olivia Colman.
Then it's Olivia... I meant to say Olivia Colman.
Okay.
Yeah. But... hands down, had I not, I'm so thankful I saw The Wife because I think, because Glenn Close has been winning, and at first I was like, oh, well, they're just giving her all these awards because she's never won or it's been a while or whatever the case is. Yeah. And then I went and saw the movie and I said, oh, I need to shut my mouth because that was an incredible performance. If you're a writer, if you are, especially, but even if you're not, if you're looking for a film about female empowerment and living in someone's shadow, being their second fiddle, to quote Bette Midler, being the wind beneath their wings,
and be careful here, don't give away the spoiler, like the main spoiler.
Oh, I'm trying not to, but The Wife, Glenn Close is my pick straight out. As much as I love Olivia Colman, to me, she was the best part of The Favorite. She was just so funny and just so wonderful in that role. And we have Lady Gaga, Star is Born, powerful, but you don't think she gets it for this, right?
No, I think that Gaga wins for song, and this is kind of, this is kind of a symbolic...
This is your Oscar/Grammy.
Well, this is,
in a way.
This is kind of a symbol of, okay, we respect you as an actress. We're not going to give you the award, but we respect you, and we're ready to see what else you can do. She's fantastic in American Horror Story. Not sure if you saw that season, but she won...
Which one? That wasn't
she was
Apocalypse.
In Hotel. She was in Hotel.
I really saw Apocalypse, and it scared the heck out of me.
But she was in Hotel and won a Golden Globe for it. So she's, she's got a little bit of experience here. But no, I don't think she wins. This is 95% Glenn Close, in my opinion. And then maybe that upset chance of Olivia Colman winning. But yeah, I think they're going to ultimately go with Glenn Close. This is her 7th nomination. Let's list them out here. The World According to Garp, The Big Chill, The Natural, Fatal Attraction, Dangerous Liaisons, and Albert Nobbs.
Wow.
And I thought she was going to win for Albert Nobbs, partially for the reason of she's a legend and she's never won. And she deserved it too. She was I don't know if you ever saw it. She plays a woman.
I didn't see that.
She plays a woman pretending to be a man so she can get work, basically.
Oh, that sounds like Glenn something. Glenn what? What's it? What was that movie?
Victor Victoria?
Victor Victoria, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, so...
That's what I'm thinking of.
So she's long overdue, obviously. She's won most of the other precursors. Olivia Colman did beat her 2 weeks ago at the BAFTAs, but it was the BAFTAs, British Academy, where that's her country.
It's kind of bread and butter.
So, that kind of upset the apple cart a little bit.
But if Olivia Colman won, I would not be upset.
No, me neither.
But
no, she's great.
But I think Glenn Close deserves it. Just the subtlety of what she's dealing with and how, like you said, how those moments when she doesn't act.
Right. When we're talking about subtlety, when I about Gosling, this really pertains to Close in this role, because there are 2 scenes in particular. One where she gets the phone call where they tell her that her husband's won the Nobel Prize, and then at the
spoiler alert.
That's not a spoiler alert. That's in the synopsis. And then at the end, at the awards banquet, when he's giving his speech. So, and you zone, and they just
especially
go in tight on her face both of those where she doesn't say a word and they go in tight on her face, and you know the pain and anguish
and it's a pressure
every
cooker.
thought,
It's
thought that's going through her head, and it is an amazing performance. And it's great when these people that get your so-called lifetime achievement awards, when they win, they don't necessarily win for the right role. She's winning for the right role.
She's winning for the right role.
Absolutely.
If she wins it. But that's the thing about it. The subtlety of it isn't always the overacting. It's like in singing. It's not who can be the loudest. Anybody can get in a room and scream, but it's how you control the vocals. It's how it's in acting. It's the subtleties of an actor that make all the difference. And I don't want to not mention Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me? I mean, her first kind of serious role.
Well, I wouldn't say first, but yeah, she's
probably her most.
It's going to be her most
realist,
her first recognized dramatic role. This is her second nomination after Bridesmaids, which was I love that she's nominated for Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
But no, she was great in Can You Ever Forgive Me? Definitely a deserved nomination.
Yeah. Our next category is Best Adapted Screenplay.
All right, so we've got A Star Is Born, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Klansman, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Can You Ever Forgive Me?
I think the Academy goes with Black Klansman.
Same here. This is their opportunity to give Spike Lee an Oscar.
And for Best Adapted Screenplay, so it's not original screenplay, but, maybe it's making up for...
Well,
the past.
It could be, it could be seen as that, where Spike Lee, he's nominated 3 times for Black Klansman, picture, director, and adapted screenplay here. He's probably not going to win picture, director. So this is their chance to vote for him and give Spike Lee an award. He's never been nominated for director before this, which is kind of hard to believe. He probably, he should have been nominated for Malcolm X. I'm sorry.
Malcolm X was incredible. So he should have.
Right. And I love 25th Hour. Not sure if you've ever seen that with Edward Norton. It's about it's his last day before he goes to jail. It follows him on his last day before he goes to jail.
Check that out.
You have to. It's fantastic. And then, but yeah, he was nominated for Do the Right Thing screenplay. Didn't win. He was nominated for a documentary. But other than that, he's not been nominated for anything.
Let's talk about, I kind of call it your film, A Star Is Born, because you're such a fan of it.
Sure. I think
this is the fourth iteration of it.
The fourth iteration of this. So I was very apprehensive when I first heard they were doing a fourth one. It's like, really? How are you going to make this fresh? But they did. And that's why this nomination is great, because how do you take the story that's been done to death, and make it feel fresh and modern? And they did an amazing job. Eric Roth, a great screenwriter. This is his 5th nomination. He won for Forrest Gump. Also nominated for The Insider, Munich, and Curious Case of Benjamin Button. But yeah, that's a great script. Ultimately, though, I think it either Black Klansman's probably the favorite here because of the Spike Lee aspect. They gave Jordan Peele the award last year. Now we're going to give Spike Lee, I think. The only one...
I don't have a problem with it.
No, I don't either. I think it's deserved. I think if someone else wins, it would go to If Beale Street Could Talk, Barry Jenkins.
It could be the surprise, yeah.
Right. But he did win for Moonlight. He won for adapted screenplay for Moonlight, so maybe they're like, okay, you've won yours. So I think it's Black Klansman here. Can You Ever Forgive Me and Buster Scruggs, they're just kind of the also-rans again. Nicole Holofcener, the writer for Can You Ever Forgive Me, she's done some great independent films. Enough Said with Gandolfini and Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Right. And then Buster Scruggs is the Coen brothers. They've been nominated 15 times. So.
I almost feel like if you don't give Spike Lee something, it's not going to be good. I feel like he needs an award to recognize.
So if they decide not to give it to him and there's backlash afterwards, do they reverse their decision like they reversed every other decision and give it to Spike Lee? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Anyway, let's move on. Move on to original screenplay.
Original screenplay.
So we've got The Favorite, First Reformed, Green Book, Roma, and Vice.
I think Alfonso Cuarón.
You think Cuarón's going
Cuarón.
to take another one here?
I think he's going to take another one here.
Okay.
I think, and you were mentioning how it's his story.
Right. This is his
this is
personal
original.
story. Like, I could totally see them giving him this
powerful.
award. I see Cuarón winning at least 3 Oscars on Sunday night. This could be his 4th. I actually think they go a different way here with The Favorite, but I certainly see why they would give it to Roma and Alfonso Cuarón, because this is his personal story of his family and the nanny that helped raise him, and his childhood. So
I almost think it's a lock.
Okay.
An Academy lock on that.
Okay.
For Roma. I think if it wins no other awards for some crazy reason, I think, which it will win awards. I believe it could even sweep, but I think for original screenplay, I think it has to go to Roma.
I just think they go a different direction because it's going to win some other ones. People want to spread the love, especially in recent years.
Yeah.
And The Favorite is probably, honestly, the best script on this list. It was so different. The Favorite could have been your stereotypical period piece, but it was anything but. It was witty.
It was very witty.
It was acerbic. It was so unique for that.
For people that may not know, First Reformed with Paul Schrader, what was that about?
So that was a film. I think it centered around a minister who gets involved in this terrorist plot, and it has there's these touches of issues of climate change. So so he tries to touch on these hotbed issues: climate change, terrorism, religion. And for me, I think this nomination's a little just kind of symbolic because of the context and for the person, because Paul Schrader is a legendary writer. He wrote Taxi Driver and Raging Bull,
which are
right. So, and he's never been nominated for an Oscar. So I think this could be a sneaky upset where First Reform actually wins. I don't think Green Book has a chance. I think there's too much controversy going on around the writer and the director now.
Well, I think Green Book is, I don't want to say it's Driving Miss Daisy, but it feels like a variation of it. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it, but
you're right. I feel like we've seen it before.
I feel like it's been done. I think Roma is just so original that just in the title here of that award, it wins it. And I think it's a lock. Our next one is Best Achievement in Directing.
All right, Best Director.
We have, I guess it looks like you're going to do the names.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there's yes, we've got some.
It's just some tongue-twisting
names here. So, Alfonso Cuarón.
For Roma.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
The Favorite.
Spike Lee.
Black Klansman.
Adam McKay.
Vice.
And Paul Pawlikowski.
Cold War.
All right, so you have some very worthy people here. I don't think I would put McKay here.
For Vice.
For Vice, I think I'd rather see Chazelle for First Man, or who else there? I mean, Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson should have been in this. And
for I Shall Not Grow Old.
Mary Poppins got snubbed.
And honestly, Rob Marshall, Mary Poppins Returns, and
A Quiet Place.
John Krasinski, A Quiet Place, and Bradley Cooper. Most people are talking about Bradley Cooper being snubbed here. But he's up for screenplay and acting and Best Picture, so it's kind of a moot point there.
Bradley Cooper acted, sang, and directed?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should get an award for Overachiever of the year. Right. That should be an Oscar next year.
No, and that's kind of a common theme here. You've got, of course, Alfonso Cuarón, Bradley Cooper, Yorgos Lanthimos, Spike Lee, Adam McKay, all nominated 3 times at least apiece. With their Best Picture, Director, Screenplay, and whatnot. So, but anyway, I think this is a lock here. It's going to be Cuarón again.
I agree. I think it's a lock.
Yeah, and more so then for screenplay, in my opinion, I feel like this is it. You know, he's won all the precursors, or most of them, I think, including the most telling one. He won the Directors Guild Award for Best Director. So
Okay.
I think Cuarón is a no-brainer here. And I mean, maybe Spike Lee, but I doubt it. So yeah, it looks like Cuarón is going to take this
I
one.
think it should be Cuarón. So you've got some data you're going to throw up for us, which is very interesting. You did some extensive research, and this is under the category of Best Motion Picture of the Year. First, the nominees.
Yeah, the big award of the night. Yeah, so we've got 8 nominees this year.
Black Panther.
We got Black Panther, Black Klansman,
Bohemian Rhapsody,
The Favorite,
Roma,
Green Book,
A Star is Born.
and Vice.
Yes.
So out of these, it made me, when I saw that Vice and Bohemian, when the critics weren't too kind to either one of those, it made me wonder, like, how many other poorly reviewed films are even nominated for Best Picture. It kind of rarely happens, and it isn't always the critics, you know, that they respond to. Audiences, you know, we have to listen to audiences too. Right. So in the case of Bohemian Rhapsody, audiences loved it. So what I did here, I wanted to look to see the ratings from audiences and critics alike. So I got Rotten Tomatoes. I got the scores from Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. So I've gotten 2 separate critic sites, and then IMDb, and then the audience score from Rotten Tomatoes site. So you've got 2 audience scores, 2 critic scores, and so I added those together and got the average.
Interesting.
To see, like, who has the best ratings of the year. And when you put them into these, all 8 of these Best Picture nominees, Roma does actually come out on top.
There you go.
Number
it's
one.
the law of averages.
And this isn't why I'm picking Roma to win Best Picture, but I do believe Roma will win Best Picture. When I break down these numbers, it was pretty interesting. Black Panther comes in at number 2, largely because of its Rotten Tomatoes score. It had the highest Rotten Tomatoes score, 97%.
And that's audience, or
that is Rotten Tomatoes. When I say Rotten Tomatoes, is critics.
Critics,
okay.
Rotten
And
Tomatoes
then
is critics.
audience is audience. So yeah, but they had an 84.5. Roma was 86.5. Just behind Black Panther was Star is Born, 84.25. So, but the telling numbers, and really what I was looking for, were for Bohemian and Vice, because the critics were not too kind to them. Bohemian had the critics scores for Rotten Tomatoes 61%, Metacritic 49%, but audiences loved it.
And I loved it.
Yeah, and I liked it.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite love it. But see, IMDb gives it an 8.2, so that's everyday users. That's great, 8.2. Yeah. I think The Godfather's probably like at 9, maybe. Like, because no, it is. It's like 9.0, I think, is where that top one, Shawshank, Godfather, they're all up there, Star Wars. And then 88% on audience for Bohemian. So that's people loved it. That brought that up. But even with that, it's still the 7th ranked out of these 8 because of the terrible critic review. Well, I won't say terrible, but low critic reviews.
The less than
average. But Vice is even lower because audiences hated it. So I
was one of those.
And I was, on the fence. That's one of those movies where the acting's great, but everything else just felt so on the nose and just a little too much. But
I agree.
So here are the numbers on Vice. So you got Rotten Tomatoes 66%, Metacritic 61%. Then IMDb is the highest, which is interesting, 7.2, 72%.
Yeah.
But the audience score was 56.
Ouch.
So, and that's
failing.
That
when
is
I was in school.
Extremely low. That is lower than the audience score for Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which was, I had to go back 8 years to find another film that was this lowly rated and nominated for Best Picture.
Wow.
And that's Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close. When I averaged all those together, it's a 55.5 out of 100, and that was nominated for Best Picture. In comparison, Vice is a 63.75, and Bohemian is a 70, even 70.
Interesting.
And so when I look at this and I compared it, because I thought it was interesting, The Blind Side kind of came to mind too. That was a couple years before Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close, where critics didn't necessarily like it,
But
the public did. And I looked at those numbers. Blind Side, 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, 53% Metacritic, IMDb 7.7, and then the audience score 85%. So again, like Bohemian, the audience score brings up the popularity.
It had that feel good, I guess.
Right. So Blind Side, interestingly enough, 70.25, Bohemian Rhapsody 70, right there at the same area. So so there's merit to these films because they make you feel good. And, I'm not going to take that away from it. I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody. I came out of it singing. I just don't see it as, on the same pedestal as Roma or Green Book or whatnot. No, not Green Book. Stars Born. Favorite or, So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to look at. And we're seeing, again, to make my point, that we're going to see these box office driven movies, especially like Black Panther. The numbers hold up on Black Panther. The critics loved Black Panther, and audiences for the most part did. I thought it was kind of interesting. The IMDb rating for Black Panther is 7.4, which is a little lower than I would have expected.
I thought it was
and
higher,
79% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So it makes you wonder, like, are these people actually critiquing the movie, or are they
going with the movement?
Well, or against it, is my point.
That's interesting.
Because,
over time, these numbers dwindle down.
They can. Well, they could go up, too.
Well, that's true, they could. It
just depends.
If something becomes a cult hit, because I want to say on Rotten Tomatoes, like, the original Terminator is one of those movies that got 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on it, which I love the Terminator franchise. Even when it's bad, I still love it. Yeah.
There's only down to go from there. So
yeah. So it's like Terminator 2 was better, and it should have gotten higher, in my opinion. So the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. So
no, it's all opinions and whatnot.
It is opinions. Now
numbers are kind of screwed.
Snubs in there.
Wow, yeah.
The First Man, I thought, was definitely a big contender for Best Picture.
That's really like the one that's not there, that had the greatest chance to be there in realistic, in realistic hopes, was First Man. I thought that it might get that 9th nomination, but it got left out.
And it seemed like an Academy film that they would love.
Absolutely.
And I loved it.
The sound design, the production design, the cinematography, everything. Yes. It's technical filmmaking at its finest. So yeah, you're right. I mean, how it's not up for Best Picture is beyond me. I mean, but that's just, it's the way it goes, unfortunately.
Okay, I got to throw some other ones. A Quiet Place. I was upset that A Quiet Place, I kept looking. I was like, maybe I've overlooked it. I'm sure I've overlooked it.
Yeah, and that was kind of a really long shot, hopeful that it would get in there for Best Picture.
And I think when it came out, it was so long ago.
It was a long time ago.
But, Black Panther's in there, and it came out in February, so that may dissuade a little bit from that argument. But
yeah, it certainly was one of the most talked about films of the year and popular films of the year and unique
and original, unique. And If Beale Street Could Talk was another snub. I thought that would have made it in there.
That was kind of that was the other one with Mary Poppins. There were basically First Man, Mary Poppins, and If Beale Street Could Talk. Those were the three that didn't get in that I thought had a great chance of.
Right.
Like A Quiet Place, I didn't have hopes for it getting in. I was just being realistic. But those other three, I thought those could sneak in there, but they got overlooked.
There is not really on this list of Best Motion Picture of the Year nominees, is there a film that didn't do at least okay at the box office? Well, Roma obviously was on Netflix or whatever, but
right.
But you know what I'm saying.
The majority
usually
of these
you have.
You're right. They did well.
Like a not black sheep is the wrong word, but like that surprise film that no one's ever seen. That's
right,
on
which
there.
I call the prestige films.
Yeah.
The independent.
And then all of a sudden it gains a big popularity after the Oscars or after the nominations come out, and people are like, oh my gosh, this is a wonderful film. I can see what's nominated or the vice to that. You mentioned, and I think it would have been really a high bar for it. I don't know if I would have put it in there, but I did love the film Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yeah.
I mean, it had great pacing, like you said, and everything, and the stunts and everything else. But
again, didn't have a realistic chance of getting in there.
yeah, I wasn't expecting it.
But when you're talking about, is it top 10 of the year?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Solidly in there.
So,
So,
but anyway, yeah, it is what it is. I think we're seeing that they're going to try to balance more and more with box office.
I just see more box office than I think I've ever seen in this.
There's going to be more of an emphasis on box office. And so
don't count out Amazon. Don't count out, because the industry is changing.
Sure.
And don't count out Netflix. Don't count out Hulu.
Right. Like Netflix is probably going to win Best Picture this year. The first time in history that a streaming company, and it would also make history. So now Roma, we're talking about Roma, and again, let's go back to this. You think Roma's going to win, correct?
I think the Academy is going to pick Roma.
I do too. So if that happens, it will be the first foreign film to ever win Best Picture. So that's something that's got going
History
for
making,
it, right? That they want to make history. They want to make a statement. This is a film from Mexico. Okay, so it's a personal story about growing up in Mexico, and it's got amazing camera work. So it's already got the pedigree to win, and it deserves it on that alone. Let me make sure I say that.
Okay.
It deserves it on the story and cinematography alone. So I would be be happy to see it even without the political and social ramifications.
I'm the same way.
As Mr. Trump, as President Trump tries everything he can to get his wall made, on the board.
This movie becomes even more and more.
It really
politically.
It's more
relevant.
symbolic, absolutely.
Yeah, or symbolic, yeah.
So even though there's a lot of merit here, the win will be symbolic. It will say, hey, look, we're inclusive. We are rewarding a Mexican film for the second year in a row. Shape of Water may not have been foreign language.
Well, I was going to say,
but it was
Del
by
Toro,
a Mexican filmmaker.
He made a little speech about when they were talking about the wall, and he kind of talked about his story in a way, and it almost in a way parallels Alfonso's story here. So it almost feels like Alfonso picked up the baton and said, well, here's my story. Yeah. And then in 2019, he could win Best Picture.
Right. So, and I like seeing history, and I like it when it's deserved. It is very deserved here with Roma.
Roma, yeah, it is deserved.
I believe,
politics aside.
I believe there's only been 7 or 8 films that have ever been foreign films, foreign language films that have ever been nominated for Best Picture. And I believe they include Crouching Tiger,
which is classic.
Amor, maybe Letters from Iwo Jima. Does that count? No, that's English language.
The Pianist?
No, English language.
They changed it? No.
They changed it. No, there's some old ones. Z, there's a Costas Gavras film. Cries and Whispers was Ingmar Bergman. So there was, what are the others? Oh, Babel. Babel was Inarritu. That was multiple language. I don't know if that counts. Letters from Iwo Jima, kind of the same thing.
Oh, yeah. That was that a Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
So, it's not unprecedented that it's been nominated. Oh, Life is Beautiful. Goodness.
Oh,
Life is Beautiful.
Yeah. And what's his, I can't think of his name, but I can remember him.
Roberto Benigni.
Well, he should have got stunt work for that, walking across those things. And
so,
what a great,
again, not unprecedented to be nominated, but they've never won. Yeah. So, a foreign film has never won. So, I think we see history, and it takes it. And rightfully so. I mean, out of those nominees, Stars Born was the only one that made it on my personal top 10 this year. So I would vote for it over Roma. But I think right behind it are Roma and the favorite for me out of these nominees. So
right. So in conclusion, overall predictions.
Yeah, I think.
What are we saying?
I think we've come to the conclusion that Roma and Alfonso Cuarón will rule the night.
This will be their night.
I think I have, them winning 4. And if you throw in screenplay, they'll win 5.
Right.
Because you said they would win screenplay.
You've got it as them taking home 4, and that would add 1 to be 5.
Yeah. So that would make history. You're going to see some history making. I think you'll see the short film Pixar, first woman to ever direct a short film for Pixar. She'll win. Maybe the 2 women sound
editing.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
So you could see some history, but overall, you're going to see the balance. I think box office and they'll spread the love again. They really like to do this. The Academies love to give a lot of films awards. I see 4 films at least winning multiple awards. I think Roma, Black Panther, Vice, and Bohemian will all get at least 2, and maybe Black Klansman. I mean, because really there are some toss-ups this year, so it's kind of hard to predict. But I think Black Klansman, Beale Street, First Man, The Favorite, Green Book, they could all win multiple ones. But I think the ones that are locks to win multiple are Roma, Black Panther, Vice, and probably Bohemian, because I think it gets a Sound Award and Best Actor.
So you're talking about director, a little bit locks being director, actress, supporting actor,
yes,
cinematography, animated, foreign, and song.
So I mean, I feel like there are a lot of locks. You kind of see where the mind where it's going. Yeah. So yeah, I think directors pretty much going to Cuarón, actress to Close, supporting actor to Ali, cinematography to Cuarón, animated Spider-Verse, foreign Roma, song Shallow for Stars Born. So I think those are pretty much your locks. If you're in your office pool, you want to make sure you have those circled in. Pin in. Don't mess around. Put it in pin. But then
we do not guarantee that you're going to win or lose based upon our predictions.
I think we know what we're talking about.
A little bit, yeah.
But there are going to be some surprises, I think, because there are so many of these categories that are up in the air, and you don't know where. Like all 5 could win. So even with how confident we are with Roma, I think there could be a surprise. When you have 8 movies nominated, there's bound to be, the votes getting split crazy ways. So, so that could be interesting. You never know. And then I think in supporting actress, while we both think Regina King's your front runner, something could happen there. And then both screenplays, it's like, I mean, you think you could go one way, but it could totally go another. But yeah, I think overall the idea here is we're going to see this change, this shift, where we're going more
and
towards that
and popular films,
inclusiveness and popular films, getting more box office friendly films recognized. And I think
especially since Disney owns everything.
I mean, it's the way I think they feel like the Academy feels like they do have a PR problem in a way because of the terrible ratings and because of all this backlash of, oh, we've made a decision. Oh, the public hates it. Oh, the public hates us. We got to reverse it and make them happy. So, I do feel like they are trying to appease the masses here. So, we'll see.
There were some obvious snubs, and I don't know if I could count how many times we've said the word snub today, but over these 2 episodes, but there were some surprises already that were snubs for us that should have gotten recognition. Probably the biggest, Peter Jackson. I don't understand. Someone explain to me why. Tell me why, and I better be sitting here a year from now saying that he's in there. But of course, I hope I'm sitting here and saying, boy, Episode 9 was the best film, Star Wars, yet untitled at that recording of this.
And I will say, we're probably going to do a 2019 preview here. I know we're a couple months into the year, but still, there's a lot of good films.
There's a lot
that we're going to talk about
that I'm interested in, more than just Star Wars. But
so you've got, your one is Star Wars, obviously. I mean, I'm looking forward to that too. And we'll go into more detail on another blog, or another podcast. But I wanted to quickly say the one that I'm looking forward to the most. I just saw a trailer for it from Danny Boyle, who did Slumdog Millionaire. Mm-hmm. It's called Yesterday.
Yes.
And it's
oh my gosh.
about a world where the Beatles didn't exist.
And I saw the trailer the other day myself. Yeah. It looks like a really fun, interesting film.
I can't wait to see it. I love the Beatles. I know every
alert,
song.
It's going to be Paul McCartney making a cameo in there. I'm predicting. I think the wife said that, but I said it'll probably be two guys. You'll just see like their feet, and you'll hear like their voices.
In the trailer, you see the barefoot. You see two guys walk, the feet walk in.
And that's Paul and John.
If it's the barefoot, yes, the barefoot is Paul. No, the barefoot is Paul. If you look at the Abbey Road cover, barefoot is Paul because he's dead. He's in the.
Is he? Okay.
Paul is dead.
That's a controversy.
So that's why he's in bare feet, because he's dead. He's in the casket.
Okay.
Have we not talked about this before? We'll talk about this.
We'll talk about it on another episode. Well, final thoughts on the Oscars.
I mean, I can't wait, even though my movies don't match as much this year, and I'm upset over Emily Blunt, but I always love it. I can't wait to watch. I think it's cool to see history. So, I'm rooting for Cuarón and Roma, and some other little delightful things.
I'm interested to see how the show's going to flow without a guest.
Without
it's
a
going to
host.
It's going to be, they're even making that diverse, having all different types of people or different hosts, I guess, or unofficial hosts.
They're trying to cut it down from 4 hours.
And it needs to be,
and people aren't letting them. So, because they're complaining. We'll see how fast it goes.
It's like trying to balance a budget, but let's not take from the arts here.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to have my arts. Well, okay, let's not take from education. I got to have that. Well, let's not take from defense. Well, I got to have that. It's like, where do you cut? You have to cut somewhere.
So definitely looking forward to...
It's like working a budget.
Yeah, and definitely look forward to the night, to the performances, Queen and all the song performances. So
I
think it should be a good show.
I think it's going to be a fun show. I look forward to hearing all the songs.
I like the fact that they actually like that they don't have a host, and it may move faster because of that. Yeah. So we'll see.
It can be corny sometimes. I don't need a big opening number. Just give me Queen performing, and
think about, I'm sorry to interrupt, but think about Timberlake when he opened. And I know that song was nominated, but when Timberlake opened, that was a great opening. It got the crowd on their feet, and boom, we're ready to go. People loved that song. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of that thing. So I think, again, if Queen does open, that's the right play. Queen needs to open,
and it needs to be, and I think they'll do great. So wow, a lot of talking. My mouth is dry here. We will be coming back with an episode after the Oscars. It may not be the day after. It may be a little bit after.
Yeah, it depends on work schedules. I may be starting back on a production here soon.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, and thank you.
And depending on a lot of things, so we hope to come back with at some point very soon a wrap up and kind of compare what we talked about on these two episodes, see where our predictions landed, and in between you can contact us at Geek Homeworld on Twitter if you want to agree or disagree with some of our picks here for the who's going to win and who we think the Academy is going to pick and who we want to win. And we're at geekhomeworld.libsyn.com, our main site. You can check out all of our episodes there. And I really encourage you to check out these 2-part episodes, and this is the part 2 of it. And
yes, and keep an eye out for
your blog.
The blogs will probably be maybe in 4 or 5 parts. And
and I may put them this time. I'll probably put them on Blogspot, geekhomeworld.blogspot.com, but I think I'm definitely going to get them on maybe the Geek Homeworld Facebook page. So
cool.
Scott's a very good prolific writer, and he really does. You can hear in this whole thing his research.
Yeah, so and not only will I do
he'll break it down
Oscar predictions and who I would want to win, but I'll also post my top 10 and my list of the year for every category, including like best cameo, kind of fun stuff like that too. So yeah, look for those.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. You know where we're at. You know what we do. I want to thank everybody who's listening. If you want to check me out on my radio show, it's Savannah on Film, and you can check me out there. There's also a Facebook page. You can go over there and like that at Savannah on Film. So I'm Ed Ciucevich, a.k.a. SavageTechman, along with
Scott Schreiber. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the Oscars. Let us know what you think. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, SavageTechman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on iTunes and leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.